The Wilbur Soot ARG is Wilbur Soot's magnum opus, but we've been working on it for 3 years at this point, and oh, it's MatPat from Game Theory. What's up? So if I understand it, you've been working on this ARG. Yeah, the Wilbur Soot ARG has been unsolved for 3 years. Unsolved? Well, I think I should make a video on it. Oh, dude, that's awesome. Wait, no, what are you doing? Hey! Yeah, so as you see, I've discovered a lot about the Wilbur Soot ARG, and I think that this game theory might solve it. Actually, hang on a second. Now, this is the solution to the Wilbur Soot ARG, but that's just a theory. Again! Welcome back, friends, and a special welcome to all the new friends out there. I'm YoBGS, and hopefully you don't mind having a little bit of good fun there with the intro. If you dug it, though, please make sure to check and see if you are subscribed. It helps the channel out a ton. But you know that when I saw that MatPat had put out a video on the Wilbur Soot ARG, I had to check it out. We watched it almost immediately on my stream yesterday over on my Twitch, twitch.tv/YoBGS. All right, friends, it was only like a couple months ago that we watched the story of the Wilbur Soot ARG, and now apparently MatPat Game Theory has figured this out. So if you dig this, leave a comment down below. Let me know. Make sure to check and see if you're subscribed. You can also stop by my Twitch, twitch.tv/YoBGS. Here we go.
Oh, an application for editor, huh? I can always use more help. Let's see what everyone else thinks.
See, he has to edit to make that face. I can make that face on my own.
Thanks.
Please, Fortress of Keyframing.
Hello, Head Editor Dan here.
Oh, finally! Was worried you wouldn't pick up. None of the other editors seem to be around their phones right now.
Weird.
Anyway, just got an email about someone
Editing would be a task. I wasn't in the vent, I was in editing.
wanting to audition. Got any projects I can put them on? Dan? Dan? Dan!
I wasn't in the vents, I was in production.
There can only be one.
That's a good Wilbur Soot impression. Yeah, Game Theory time.
Welcome to Game Theory, where today's episode is being worked on by a brand new editor auditioning for the job. Hopefully, he doesn't do anything creepy and start off a multi-month-long ARG that ultimately winds up being too obscure to be solved. Oh wait, that's exactly
that was secret
what's
text
happening right now, isn't it?
Hang on, if we're trusting this like it's an ARG, there was some secret text here.
And start off a multi-month
Playback, speed, slower. Playback, speed, slower.
long ARG that ultimately winds up.
I want this. I will not let MatPat win. There we go. MatPat wants me to put a bunch of stuff here to be creepy, but to be honest, I'm a tired boy and a little low on creativity. So here's a hint that doesn't matter or lead anywhere, but there we go. That was absolutely worth it.
Obscure to be solved. Oh wait, that's exactly what's happening right now, isn't it? He's inserting creepy imagery of himself over my VO, isn't he? Darn it, not again. Well, this episode's already on a tight timeline, so I guess we're gonna have to keep it in.
I love the thought of Wilbur just slinking away defeated.
Clearly you've never heard of the Wilbur Soot ARG, better known as the Editor Wilbur ARG. Yeah, when he's not trying to illegally sell potions out of a hot dog van in the Dream SMP, Wilbur Soot is concocting.
Yeah, about that. That's not a super current reference.
Unsolvable ARGs steeped in literary references and complex musical codes. And what do you do in your free time? Notice one key adjective I used here, friends. Unsolvable. This thing is filled with red herrings, obtuse puzzles, and clues that are so subtle that even though it started back in 2018, it has never been solved. When I discovered that one of the internet's biggest gaming creators right now created an ARG, I was intrigued. When I found out that it hadn't been solved, I was really intrigued. To the point that I actually reached out to Wilbur himself to check that it could actually be solved.
I love that, by the way. He's like, I was intrigued when I found out he had a thing. you know, and then I found out it wasn't solved, I was even more intrigued. So because I'm famous in game theory, I went to Wilbur and I was like, bruh, what's the answer? And because I'm famous, Wilbur was like, bruh, this is the answer. I know that's not what happened. But at least Wilbur, because didn't Wilbur say in a podcast that all the answers are out there? Like, he said it's solvable and all the information is public.
He told me that while it is technically solvable, he would actively discourage me as well as anyone else from attempting to solve it. He reiterated this a bunch during our call, claiming that the ARG was poorly constructed with puzzles that were accidentally made too hard. And not hard in the good way of, wow, that was really challenging to figure out, but rather hard in the frustrating, oh, how could I have ever known to do that sort of way. And I get it.
To be fair, we did react to Jaden Animations a little while ago, and she was doing like Mario stuff that is the same way.
As someone who's done his own ARGs a few times, finding the right level of difficulty is really tough. People take clues in directions that you could have never suspected. And I gotta say, it is awesome that Wilbur acknowledges and admits all of his first-timer faults. I respect that a lot. I also choose to completely ignore
It's
him.
the same thing as like being a dungeon
Dude,
master.
But you know that I couldn't leave this ARG incomplete, and I gotta say, I think I solved it. I think I have some solid answers to the ARG's biggest lingering questions. But to understand how, you first have to understand what exactly this thing was and what made it so hard.
Wilbur's also the master of manipulation. He knew by telling MatPat not to solve it, that MatPat was gonna go try and solve it.
Editor Wilbur ARG officially kicked off back in December of 2018, but Wilbur had actually been seeding the idea of doing an ARG for nearly a year before that. Despite having a channel of his own with over 42,000 subscribers at the time, the ARG wasn't actually started there. Instead, the whole thing kicked off when another channel, Jack Sucks at
Dude, I've
Life,
almost got
uploaded
60K
the
subs.
ominously
Problem is
titled,
nobody
"I Let a Random
cares
Guy
when I
Edit
do
This
original
Video."
stuff.
6 days ago, I get this email titled, "New editor application important." And I think, well, I'm not looking for a new editor.
Nowadays, Jack collects YouTube play buttons, but back then he was predominantly a Minecrafter. Also, on that note, Jack, I have the one version of the gold play button that you don't have. As far as I know, it's the only thing missing from your collection. I'm just saying, let's talk. According to Jack, he was
Nice.
contacted by a person named Wilbur looking to
Get
apply
that
for a
bag,
job
Matt.
as editor, which immediately is weird considering Jack already had an editor. But things get weirder once he opens the email, which begins with a giant image of Wilbur and a rant against Jack's current editor, Kai.
Now I know what you're thinking, Mr. Massey Welsh Sucks at Life. Kai has some properties that are irreplaceable, right? You're wrong. You idiot! I have all of them and better. What? Who? Wilbur!
Wilbur, then, out of nowhere, claims to have invented 2 of the 6 strings found on a guitar, as well as the editing tool of keyframing, which means I guess I owe the dude a fortune in royalties. Despite all of these
I mean,
red
that's why
flags,
Wilbur
Jack decides
doesn't
to
work
let
day
Wilbur
jobs.
Go ahead and edit part of the video, and things start out pretty normally, at least until the middle when we switch to a video of Wilbur completely taking over and introducing himself to Jack's audience, appearing in a
decrepit old house in the middle of nowhere where no one can find you.
saying that there are people chasing him and that he's suffering from frostbite.
Wait a minute. Decrepit old house in the middle of nowhere. Isn't Dotham? Hang on. Isn't Dotham a place in England? No, apparently not. Oh, Dothan. D-O-T-H-A-N. Damn it. ARG no longer solvable.
Saying that there are people chasing him and that he's suffering from frostbite. He begins to play a song, and then there's a loud thud heard from off screen, and he runs away. It is pretty much the perfect first ARG video. You interrupt a normal piece of content, you pique their interest with a couple of mysteries, leave little clues that don't make a whole lot of sense on their own, and build excitement for the next video. A next video that would happen a mere 4 days later. The second video, entitled "I Let Him Edit Another Video, This Is What He Sent Me Back," is pretty normal until we get to the end. Jack asks
I'm like sitting
Wilbur
here
to play a
shaking,
song
by
while
the
he
way,
sways in the corner.
because I'm like, I know the ARG and I'm just sitting here watching it like reactor boy, not saying reaction words, just watching the actual fun
But
happen.
all we see is Wilbur sitting on a keg.
I haven't got a song for you. They said they took my guitar.
Thank you.
After that, things continue on until the very
it's-
end, where in the top left-hand corner, we're given a URL to an unlisted video called R Lincolnshire Poacher, itself a reference to a subreddit. In this video, we hear Wilbur leave a voicemail for someone, reciting the poem The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe.
Hello, your call cannot be taken at the moment, so please leave your message after the tone. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary.
If you go over to the subreddit, you're greeted with yet another video called Clues. This again has Wilbur leaving a voicemail and reading yet another Edgar Allan Poe story, but this time the short story, The Cask of Amontillado. Listen until the very end though, and you hear Morse code playing. It's a reversed base 64 code leading to yet another YouTube unlisted video entitled A Ramble.
If you're watching this,
How would anyone figure that out?
I think I'm losing my mind anyway, so...
At the end of this one, there's yet another Morse code, this time translating to, "Don't let Kai tell you what I did." This ties in with a phrase repeated by a synthetic voice. Reverse it, and we get this.
I did something
embarrassing. I did something embarrassing.
Now we're starting to piece together elements of a story. Wilbur is embarrassed about something he did, something that has perhaps forced him to live on the run. Apparently,
This is where I like, okay, I know that this isn't a, oh, I keep wanting to say bipolar, but I know that's not right. This isn't a dissociative identity thing. I understand, because I think Wilbur's outright said that, or he I don't know. But like, the thing about people who do embarrassing things is they do not go around broadcasting that they've done embarrassing things.
Kai also witnessed this event, or else Wilbur accidentally let what he did slip to Kai and is now afraid of what might happen if word gets out. Hence him wanting Kai removed from the position of editor, a position where he has a voice and could likely spill the beans. Digging deeper though, we can actually pinpoint the window of when the event happened and when Wilbur's feelings towards Kai shifted. The first video of the
Kai
ARG
is
was
low-key
in December
badass.
of 2018. However, if you check Wilbur's Twitter from a few months earlier, we see him tweet at Kai saying, quote, "Just saw you in Greenwich. Was in a rush and just kinda said hi. Sorry for confusing you," with a follow-up tweet about how he loves Kai's work. A very different tone from the email that we see that starts this whole thing off. In short, what many people...
Part of me wonders if the reason that Wilbur thought this was unsolvable, and I guess we're gonna find out over the course of the next 15 minutes, but because I could have seen Wilbur doing this. I see Greenwich, and my mind immediately went to thinking about the ARG, Google Street View. If you went to Google Street View at some certain spot in Greenwich, Wilbur posted a clue that got picked up by the Google cameras driving through Greenwich. And that's where I'm like, because you know how Wilbur said it's too hard now? That screenshot might have changed. So now you don't get that clue and you can't connect that dot. But I would not have put it past Wilbur to do something like that, like use Google Street as a method for giving out clues.
Perceive as the beginning of this ARG, that first Jack video, is really a few months into the whole thing. It also means that whatever this quote-unquote embarrassing event was, it took place between October 18th and December 16th, between the tweet complimenting Kai and the upload date of the video rant seen on Jack's channel. So certainly not the whole picture, but pieces are certainly starting to fall in place. The next chunk of clues actually came from Discord, where it seemed like Wilbur was using aliases to push things forward. Via these presumed secret accounts, we learned about a hidden cache IRL which contained a drawing of London's O2 Arena and the word oxygen written beneath it. There were also audio files, stenographic decoders, broken links. Like, this one was really making people work. But through it all, you wound up with two major clues. First, this image, which seems to be an email sent by Jack to Wilbur, mixed in with a book title, book cover, L's Lovely 3 by R. Fakir. The second was yet another YouTube video where Jack syncs up and stares at a camera for about a minute or so. It's pretty boring stuff, but you know there has to be more to this, right? Put the audio through a spectrogram, and in the middle of the video, you find some text.
Hello? Can you hear me? I'm trying my best to reach you, but it's getting harder and harder because they're getting closer. I can run and run, but they're always right behind me. You're trying your best, and I appreciate that, but sooner or later I'll have to come clean and end this thing once and for all. That man, Jack Massey, sucks at life. He's so kind to me and tries his best to tell me I need to know that I'll replace Kai, or I'll have to tell the world what I did. It's just a matter of time.
It's emphasizing the part.
What? Okay. Was this public knowledge at this point? Or did Game Theory figure this out on their own? Because that's bonk. I don't remember that being in the original video.
The story that we already know, but not revealing anything new. This becomes a trend that we'll see throughout the third video as well. Now, when it comes to big clues at this point, those actually shift over
it's a paw print! That means a clue!
Kai and Wilbur seem to organize a meeting on the same day the third video goes live. What exactly happens here between the two of them is unknown, but afterwards, Kai's Find a Friend location was ominously located in the middle of a river, just downstream of the London O2 Arena. Suspicious. We're back there. Kai's Twitter account is also seemingly overtaken by Wilbur, his bio reading, inventor of the ENA guitar strings, Wilbur Soot at gmail.com. 2 days later, Kai's Twitter returns to normal, tweeting what a bloody good swim that was, and that the water wasn't as bad as you'd think, but was bloody cold though, to say the least. It seems that Wilbur attempted to get rid of Kai by getting him to swim in the river, by throwing him in the river, something, but Kai survived. Also, notice the detail about the water being cold, a direct callback to Wilbur's repeated phrase that happens throughout this entire ARG. Is Wilbur cold because he too was forced to swim in the water at some point? Maybe. The I'm so cold phrase.
ARG solved, friends.
Wilbur Soot's the Loch Ness Monster. Done. 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 That is irrefutable. We solved the ARG. Wilbur's the Loch Ness Monster. I win. Where's my prize? Wilbur, back up the dump truck. I got this right.
This is so important that it becomes the major theme of the next set of puzzles in the series starting at video 4.
Think about this, friends. Think about this. Have you ever seen Wilbur Soot and the Loch Ness Monster in the same room at the same time? No, you haven't.
Wilbur edited this video. Not much to talk about here. This step actually required a good bit of brute force to solve. Brute force answering is when you basically just keep trying over and over again without any real hint as to the answer. Anyway, you eventually wind up at a video of Wilbur saying his classic catchphrase.
I'm so cold. I'm so cold.
Over and over again. Seriously, can someone get this guy a blanket? In the description of the video, we're given another base64 code, which translates to a backwards YouTube URL for another video titled, you guessed it, I'm cold. In this video, we see text saying, it's not forever, is it? What will I do? And of course, I'm so cold. These are all comments on the fact that in the overarching story, Wilbur has just gotten the editing job over Kai, but clearly he knew that, even though he had won temporarily, it wouldn't last. A poem found in an Imager photo around this time also backs this up.
I can paint with film and cut without scissors, and not be hassled by the looming fate of Kai. Ah, fake ears hear only that I am permanent. I am aware, nay, resigned, to the fact that I am on but a timer. I fear myself as the loss of my position may drop me in the wasteful void. It shall bite me like the cold, and I am so cold.
Between the Edgar Allan Poe references and all this fancy Shakespeare talk, you can tell that this one is a classy ARG. All of this is him knowing that this is—
Shout out to the spiffing Brit.
A permanent fix for the problems that he's caused. It's
Ew!
Really
is that an animal? What is this? I never know. That's got to be stuffing from the couch, but that looks like a possum.
This isn't a permanent fix for
looks
the problems
nasty.
that he's caused. It's merely a distraction. Kai will return, and if Jack removes Wilbur from the equation, then he'll be left alone in the void, with nothing to distract him from what he's done. So, what is it? What did he do? And this, you see, is why the ARG is currently unsolved. No one has that core answer. There are more videos after this, more references to being cold, more drama as Wilbur loses the job back to Kai, and plenty more codes to solve, but to me, and anyone who knows this mystery, the question everyone wants closure on is why? Why is Wilbur on the run? Why is he so cold? Why does he want Kai silenced? What is the big secret? At first, I started to pick—
And my problem is I can't separate the two things in my brain. So because I'm sitting here like an idiot, I'm like, he obviously didn't kill Kai because Kai's alive. But then I'm like, well, no, duh. He's not going to murder somebody for a game. Although if you look at this face, if anyone was going to murder somebody for a game, I'm just saying. But like, so I guess it would have been an attempted murdering in the storyline. I don't—
The loose threads of clues that no one knew what to do with. Or at least that didn't have clear endpoints on the massive Google Doc that the fan community made. There was, of course, the Wilbur Soot music video, Privately Owned Spiral Galaxy, which just kinda appeared at one point in the middle of the ARG. In this video, Wilbur sits on a keg in a field and plays a slightly modified cover of the song Privately Owned Spiral Galaxy, notably playing the song almost entirely on the E and A strings, the ones that he claims to have invented. If that wasn't suspicious enough, at 2:27 the video cuts away suddenly to play the Lincolnshire Poacher tune. So clearly—
No, that's gonna get everybody demonetized again. I swear, the stupid Lincolnshire Poacher thing got me, got Joey, got Nate. I think everyone who's covered the ARG so far, the stupid Lincolnshire poacher thing got us all demonetized.
There's something important to hide in the greater ARG. And after being involved in the Petscop ARG for so long, one of my first instincts was synchronization. Remember that video I mentioned earlier? The suspicious one where Jack stares at a camera for a minute or two and nothing really happens? Well, it starts with Jack saying,
Okay, I'm syncing up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Seems like the perfect opportunity to sync some videos up. So I tried it, and wouldn't you know, they sync. At 2:21 and they're getting closer, Jack is suddenly replaced by a black and white video of Wilbur staring into a bathroom mirror while digital sounds play in the background. At 2:27...
What? I thought nothing happened in that video. So if you overlay them, some sort of nonsense happens? What? How is that?
Exactly, the song gets to the same point the digital tune plays in privately owned Spiral Galaxy. It's cool, but what? It was a new finding that ultimately led to nothing, as far as I could tell. In the R Lincolnshire Poacher subreddit, there's a cryptic hint in the information bar, do not capitalize on this poster's mistakes, and in the first video of the ARG, Wilbur claims to be suffering from frostbite and apologizes for not being good at guitar as a result.
My fingers are suffering from hypothermia at the moment, so if I'm not very good, my apologies.
Maybe
thank you, chicken. I'm sitting here like,
huh? Spiral Galaxy music video, and those are telling me what to quote-unquote not capitalize. Well, after listening to the original version and comparing it with Wilbur's version, I found 3 different notes that just seemed out of place. One at 111, one at 233, and one at 244. Are these repetitive timestamps just the product of me looking too deeply into one puzzle, or do they actually mean something?
Adderall is a hell of a drug.
That's not a coincidence.
I don't know. I tried a bunch of things, the lyrics, the letters, whatever. I still seem to be missing a step, a clue, something. And I could just sit here and list off more of the random rabbit holes that I looked down, but the end result was always the same. While I certainly had some new findings here and there, none of it was earth-shattering.
Oh, we're only
Nothing was
halfway
truly
through the
connecting
video.
The dots in the way that I would imagine those dots connecting. Wilbur was ultimately right with his phone call to me. I couldn't solve it all. But here's the thing.
A phone
Just
call.
because you don't completely solve every puzzle doesn't mean that you can't win the game. Wilbur may have won some battles here and there, but he hasn't won the war. Just like you can know the image hidden on a puzzle without having all the pieces, I think there's enough clues on the table
yeah,
at
just
this
look at
point
the
to
box.
actually solve the main mysteries of this thing. I think I know what happened at the O2 Arena. I think I know who the fakirs are. There's actually 2 of them, we'll get to that. And I think I know why everyone is so darn cold all the time. So finally, it's time to talk theories. As you can probably imagine, in absence of a definitive conclusion to the ARG, Wilbur's communities developed some guesses to fill in the blanks of the story. The first comes from the YouTube channel Red Herring. They propose that R and I Fakir are actually 2 different personalities of Wilbur. And yeah, I kind of skimmed over it, but at one point in the ARG, a new challenger enters the fray, I Fakir. On Reddit, Wilbur suddenly makes a random comment on a post just saying, I Fakir would love this. I Fakir? I thought it was just R, you know, the guy that wrote the book from earlier. Well, we learn later from R Fakir's completed book cover that R is the son of I Fakir, which is also an anagram for Fire Kai. Very clever. Anyway, throughout the entirety of the ARG, Wilbur is seen both with and without glasses, sometimes even switching between wearing and not wearing them in the same video. And when he switches, his demeanor seems to change as well. When
Nobody cared who the fakirs were till they put on the glasses.
But calmer and put together.
It's nice when things end with a bow on the top.
When they're off, he becomes a...
And the Loch Ness Monster wears a bow in its hair. We've solved it.
erratic, impulsive, and aggressive.
We like our deadlines here. We love our deadlines, we love them.
The theory goes that whatever traumatic event is at the core of this ARG, it may have caused Wilbur to develop dissociative identity disorder, more commonly known as multiple personalities. This condition is commonly the result of trauma, as the brain actively tries to avoid bad memories. And let me just put in a disclaimer here, this is a real condition that is often very negatively and poorly portrayed in media outlets, usually with scary people who are serial killers being the ones that suffer from it.
It's also, yeah, this has also been confirmed to not be the situation. So I'm hoping that's not a whole lot of the answer
Do
here.
not fall victim to that stigma. It is not true. It is just made up and over-sensationalized. Anyway, applying this idea to Wilbur's behavior throughout the series, a lot of things seem to fit. Wilbur only ever talks about the embarrassing incident when he isn't wearing glasses. Same thing when he's demanding the firing of Kai, or celebrating getting the job as editor. All no glasses. During a Reddit review video, Wilbur looks for his reading glasses and then states,
I've never owned reading glasses.
implying that this persona isn't aware of the other. This is the real Wilbur, the one who wants to escape,
But again, isn't that not true?
This is I Fakir. R Fakir then is the alt personality, the other persona, the son or product of I Fakir. It's a persona that's more emotionally distant, more collected. Honestly, I think that this is right. The evidence for it is too hard to deny, and it explains a lot of the weird Fakir stuff. But clearly, it's not the whole story because we still do not know what is the inciting incident. Well, for that, we need to introduce one final video, one brought to light by online user Christian. This video on Wilbur's music channel features a voicemail from a girl who asks Wilbur out on a date.
We haven't went on a date since like forever, so I just wanted to know if you would like to go to a Pack-a-Burger tonight.
And that's it. We never hear about this girl again. It is a one-time random event that, for followers of Wilbur's work, seemingly goes nowhere. And it's this random phone call, this out-of-nowhere voice message that I believe serves as both the beginning and
Dude, funnily enough, there are some rap albums, I'm trying to remember which ones, that will use voicemails like between songs. It's really like is it I think Country Grammar might do it. I know there's at least one voicemail on that album.
The Wilbur ARG.
So he may have just been related to that.
I think I've got the complete picture. This mystery girl asks Wilbur to meet her at a burger place, which let's assume is in Greenwich near the O2 Arena sometime in December. Remember, this has to have happened before December 16th, but after October due to his relationship with Kai changing. It also links to the poem The Raven that kicked this whole thing off.
Distinctly, I remember it was upon the bleak December.
The voicemail from this girl seems to be quite awkward, but to me it
is her name Lenore?
As mocking.
If he yeeted Lenore into the ocean.
Awkwardness. It's kind of like when you're in school and the popular girl pretends to be interested in you and then it all comes out as just being a prank. I have a sneaking suspicion that this might be what happened here. Wilbur's social awkwardness meant that he wasn't able to read the situation correctly. He clearly likes the girl and so he showed up, which links in our first Edgar Allan Poe poem from the ARG,
Okay, here's the thing. Like, I don't buy into the way that this is going, because if we assume that Wilbur is like cognizant of mental illness, because he is, I don't think he would use a scenario like that where somebody's not good at reading social cues and thus responded in a rageful manner.
About a lonely man finally feeling whole thanks to a woman. Quote, I dwelt alone in a world of moan. Now doubt, now pain, come never again. This then leads us to a second Edgar Allan Poe poem, Annabel Lee. Quote again, I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea. By the sea, in this case, the Thames River, and referring to both himself and a mysterious girl. However, when he does go, she reveals that it was all a joke, causing this moment to be marked in Wilbur's mind as embarrassing. He was humiliated and in a moment of rage pushes the girl, which causes her to fall off the edge and into the cold water of the Thames below. Wilbur panics, he dives in to try and get her out, but he's unable to. She's not able to swim and slowly begins to drown, with the last thing Wilbur hearing being the words, I'm so cold. This explains the pictures of the O2 Arena and the word oxygen written in the geocache notes. She drowned in the Thames near the O2 Arena, lacking O2 or oxygen, which also fittingly ties into that Annabel Lee poem again, where the girl dies cold and wet. Quote, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee, and so all the night tide. I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulcher there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. All of this would also explain why Wilbur keeps saying I'm so cold. This event has been burned into his mind, those last words, the embarrassing moment, he himself being cold from the water. A traumatic moment so strong that it causes a mental break. It's also a moment that would force him into hiding, explaining the knocking on his door in the first video. He's running from the law, or at least it feels like he's running from it. He's actually...
But then what? Okay. But then what is the impetus for wanting to come forward with this information? That's the big question to me. Like, why would you, if you did this horrible thing, so much so that you felt like you had to be on the run, guilt is understandable, but again, how do you then go, okay, I'm on the run, let me be Jack Sucks at Life's editor. You know what I mean? Like, why? Where does the flip happen where it's like, I need to be an editor?
Running from a guilty conscience, kind of like Poe's telltale heart. So any sort of knocking on the door could be the police or, you know, just a threat, and so he panics and leaves every time. However, there is one small snag in this whole plan. Kai. Kai knows about Wilbur. After all, we know that they met in October of that year, which is also probably when he met that mystery girl. She does say that they haven't been on a date in forever.
Kai is the mystery girl.
So Kai knows this girl. Maybe he was even in the prank that they were pulling, and so he knows that she's now missing. When Wilbur suddenly realizes this, he plots to have him removed from his point of influence as Jack's editor, paranoid that this information will get out. When Jack doesn't immediately fire Kai, Wilbur takes it upon himself to remove him the only way he knows, by throwing Kai into the same part of the Thames. However, Kai is a strong swimmer. Wilbur, knowing that he can't get rid of Kai, is now forced to face his actions. In his last video of the ARG, Wilbur talks about how even though the part of him that people know will be dead, he'll still be here.
This is where I die. I'll still be here. But this part of me dies here.
And the part of him that will now be dead is, of course, our Fakir, who now no longer has a place in this world as Wilbur accepts what he did. And so as he begins to explain the story to us, our Fakir disappears. And to round it all up, I present to you the last Edgar Allan Poe poem, Lenore. A poem about not mourning for the dead, but instead coming to terms with death and celebrating the life that once was. Avaunt, tonight my heart is light, no dirge will I upraise, but waft the angel on her flight with a pain of old days, from grief and groan to a golden throne.
Oh, dude, I know all about those pains.
All of this would make sense as Wilbur is coming to terms not only with the death of the mystery girl, but also with the death of a part of himself. Plus, it allows us to solve the mystery about why our Fakir's book is called L's Lovely 3. All three of the poems I've mentioned, Eulalie, Annabelle Lee, and Lenore, are all well noted for their literary technique of emphasizing the L sound in their title. Three Edgar Allan Poe poems with lovely L sounds. L's Lovely 3, all wrapped in an ARG that kicked off with a heck of a lot of Poe references. So, is it the right answer? I don't know. Wilbur wouldn't tell me because he didn't want to give me anything the wider community didn't also have, which absolutely respect. But I also think deep down, he knows that the best mysteries are the ones that never get solved. I mean, duh, look at FNAF. And let's face it, what's more enticing than the creator himself telling you not to do something that is just too hard to solve? Which,
remember when Wilbur made videos? Am I right?
You know what? Don't subscribe to this channel. Don't do it. It is impossible to click that red subscribe button below this video. Darn, it's a shame too that you can't click that subscribe button, because guess what? Here's the thing. Wilbur is gonna be back on this channel. He is already starting to seed out the idea of doing another ARG, this time with more knowledge of how to craft these—
No, wrong. No, wrong. Have you learned nothing, MatPat? If Wilbur is seeding out the idea, the game has already started. That is the first rule of Wilbur. If he's thinking about it, it's already happening.
For the general populace. So don't be surprised if you happen to see his name pop up in the title
general pop. What a humble brag.
Video sometime in the future. Only this
for
time,
you, an ARG for you plebs.
And solving, so we're not doing this 3 years too late. And in the meantime, remember, it's just a theory, a game theory. Thanks for watching.
I dig that. I like that. But it's kind of weird, I don't know, because I feel like it is probably true. Because if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, this is probably a clue for the second one. Somebody spectrograph this, somebody color swap this, somebody do something to this. That's what I'm saying. This is probably a clue for the next ARG. Otherwise, this would not be here. This is just a weird thing to have. But, okay, so, like I said, I'm assuming, I think that, yes, this is the right answer. I think the reason that this answer has been found is because this is gonna kick off the next game. Again, Wilbur is smart. Wilbur knows that bringing attention to the old game is the greatest way to be like, oh, and P.S., here's the new game. So I think that this is obviously going to be the answer. As far as the rest of the ARG is concerned, I don't know. To me, the thought that you find this girl and then your mind has to fill in the blanks of this happened and then she drowned, but Kai doesn't drown. To me, like, that's a lot you have to just fill in your brain. Like, there's a lot of you make up the story kind of stuff. And I would like if there was like a video or something of like, I don't know. I think it would be better if there were some other piece of information where, like, Wilbur having his phone out and there's a girl in the Thames or something like that. Like, that would be kind of cool. And I'm not confused. To me, it makes sense. Like, it all ties together. It sounds good based on the little knowledge I have about the ARG. But, like, I just feel like there should be more that fills in those few holes. But if you're on YouTube, take care, my friends. I will see you all